Hi, everybody. Kevin Lonnquist here with On the Pony Express, and what we hope will be the first of a litany of interviews with prominent members of the SMU athletic community. We're going to start off with head coach Rhett Lashlee of the SMU football program, who's now in his third year. Hard to believe that time flies that fast, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I want to start off with you in terms of just your career. And, you were part of a national title staff at Auburn. You've been with other P5 programs, most notably Miami, before you came here, and you saw the inner workings of a successful P5 program. And what's in place here for this program as it transitions to the ACC, and what do you think needs to come, or what's remaining?
Yeah, I think there's a lot made about the P5, P4, and nons, and I mean, at the end of the day, football's football, and so I've been fortunate to be on two teams that played for a national title and multiple conference championships, including the one here last year. And when it comes to the football, the X's and O's, the recruiting, the players, nothing really is different other than maybe the caliber of players that you had on those teams. But what really sets apart the teams or the programs and universities that can do that is the resources. Do you have the facilities? Are you in a good location? How's your school? What's the support like behind your school? And what's your fan base and the fan experience, the game day experience like? Those are the things that, at the end of the day, separate people when kids are, because at the end of the day, it's about players. So when recruits are making decisions, you got to have all those things. And I think that's why you see schools year in, year out, the same schools are vying for that, or are, quote, power schools. Well, they have all those resources.
So let's go back to this year, third year, as we mentioned. Besides players, staff, and a new conference, what do you think is different about the way you just run a practice with it, even when you came here in 2022 to where it is now? How different is it in terms of just running a spring practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everything, there's learning curves. I'm sure I learned throughout the process of things I thought would be good but want. But, as coaches, we've been running practices a long time, even before I was a head coach. And so you kind of know what you need and what it should look like. You collaborate with the coordinators and try to get the most out of what we need. But I think our practices have been fairly similar. I think what has happened is our players know the expectations. Our players know the standard. They know how we do things, why we do things. We're doing a better job of practicing, and when we're not live, staying off the ground, which keeps people from getting hurt. The tempo of practice is better. And just the things we're trying to accomplish. We try to practice really physical. We run a lot of team reps. We've probably changed that a lot over the years, last couple of years. A lot of schools like to do a lot of individual, a lot of this, a lot of that. Man, the game's played 11 on 11. So the more practice reps of 11 on 11 we can get, I think the better we become and the more physical football team we become.
I was going to ask you about the physical part of it, because it seems like coaches in spring ball will try to balance that, because they obviously don't want to wear their teams out. And so what's kind of the fine balance for you on that?
Yeah, that's more volume than it is the way you do things. If you take a full speed rep, it needs to be full speed. It needs to be violent, physical, just like a game rep. It's just a matter of, when you're in spring and you're in summer, that's different than fall camp. There's a phase. There's like four main phases. You got the winter program we just came out of. You got spring ball. You got the summer program. You got fall camp. And every part has its importance in the process. Spring is about foundation, in understanding the schemes on both sides, fundamentals. We want to get quality reps, but we don't want to beat them up physically. We got to get enough physical. I mean, the game's physical, but we don't have to tackle live and scrimmage a bunch and just, do a bunch of really, really physical drills over and over, because we're going to have fall camp to get physical and prepared for the season. Right now, we want to brush up on the techniques, the fundamentals, the continuity, the understanding of what we're doing. So that when we go into the summer, we can continue to take the next step. And then when we get to fall camp, hopefully a lot of those things we're off and running, and now we can focus on getting ourselves physically ready for a long, grueling season.
You said something at the signing day presser about, it really struck me in terms of, you said, quote, we have to embrace the excitement of doing hard things.
Yep.
The hard thing will be the ACC, but put into context what that means to you, your staff, your team, and just the infrastructure of SMU football.
Well, I think a couple things. We got to raise our standard everywhere. We got to raise our level. Not that we weren't doing our best a year ago, but we're stepping up in weight class. We just won a middleweight division title. Now we're going to the heavyweights. And so to move up in weight class and not think anything's going to change is probably delusional. Like, our process doesn't change, who we are and isn't going to change, but we all got to ask ourselves, where can we raise our level in certain aspects so we raise it as a team and as a program. I think what I really mean too by embracing hard things is there's not going to be any more 52-3 games at halftime. You look at our game against Memphis last year, you look at our game against Tulane, those are probably the two best examples outside of the Oklahoma, TCU, BC games they're all tight. They're all tight at halftime. They're all tight in the third quarter. You're going to win games on the last 2 to 4 possessions in the fourth quarter if you're going to win games, you know, and you're going to have to play really hard to even put yourself in position to do that. And then you got to find ways to win the close games like we did at Memphis, like we did at Tulane, unlike we did maybe say at TCU, Oklahoma, and BC. And so we have to understand that for the most part, every one of our games is going to be like that. And they're going to come down to the fourth quarter where we got to, you know, stop them to win the game or go score late in a one-score game. And so we can't be shocked by that. We got to embrace that it's going to be hard to win every single game. We got to embrace that, be excited about it so we can go overcome it.
To that end, you bring up an interesting point, because what was your overall message to your team when you all began spring practice on February 27th, and about what's to come, and maybe more so what has to be different?
Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line, right? You want to continue to draw on the things that made you a championship program a year ago. We do have a lot of veteran guys here. We got a lot of new faces, but like, hey, there's a lot of things we did well. We're going to continue to do that. But again, where are some little ways personally, as a group, as a program, we can raise our level and improve? You're always trying to improve. But for us, like I told them, what spring's about the foundation, the fundamentals. For example, a year ago, we didn't think we tackled very well. So we focused all spring, summer, and fall on tackling. In creating turnovers, because we didn't do that. Well, this year we tackled better. We were number one in the country in touchdown scores, but guess what? We also were number one in the country for most interceptions dropped. Right. So how do we improve that? On offense, we wanted to be better at ball security and perimeter blocking. We were, all right, but we dropped a lot of footballs, particularly late in the year. So there's fundamental areas you can focus on, but the global, the big picture, I told them really there's three things. All right, we have to be connected. We have to be a group. We have to create a new team culture and atmosphere. A lot of guys are here, but there's new faces. This is a new team. We were a very connected, uncommon team last year, and that's why we were able to win. 2, we got to get better at our craft. We got to get better. We got to get better fundamentally, understanding the scheme. That's why we practice. That's why we coach. And then thirdly, we got to be a tough team. And that has to do physically, but also the mental component on winning hard games, tight games late in the fourth quarter.